Welcome back to Dearest Mother's Darkest Secrets, where we dive into the tragic and unsettling stories of mothers who commit the unthinkable. I am Teri True Crime. In today's case, we'll leave you shaken to your core. We're covering the heart wrenching story of Dora Buenrostro, a mother who brutally took the lives of her three children in a horrific crime. Over the course of this series, we've explored similar tragedies that defy logic and reason. From Susan Smith, who drowned her two sons in a devastating act of betrayal, to Michelle Blair, whose horrific acts against her own children shocked the world, and Melissa Town, whose twisted reasoning led her to end her child's life. Today, we add another chilling case to that list, the case of Dora Buenrostro, whose fury and desperation took a deadly turn in Southern California on October 27th, 1994. So grab your glass, whatever you're drinking, settle in, and prepare for another tragic story of maternal violence, loss, and devastation as we uncover the horrifying details of Dora's descent into pure evilness. On October 25th, 1994, sometime between 5 and 6:30 p.m., Dora was seen driving with her three children. Then, around 6:40, she borrowed $10 from her neighbor David for gas as she planned to drive to Los Angeles to see her estranged husband. David then saw her leave with her youngest daughter, Deidre, age 4, in the car. Dora arrived at her estranged husband Alex's residence in LA around 11 p.m. and stayed for 2 hours. During her visit, Alex asked about the children, and Dora said they were fine. The couple then proceeded to have sex, and while Alex lay in bed, Dora went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and then threatened to stab Alex where it hurts the most. Alex, in a panic, called 911, and thankfully, the police arrived. Dora told the police that Alex had taken the kids and would not give them back. Officers reported there were no children at the apartment, and they told her to return to her home county and file a missing person report. Dora was made to leave the home, which she did, and she drove home to Riverside. The next morning, October 26th, Dora went to the police department claiming that her estranged husband had taken her youngest child and not returned her. She was informed that law enforcement couldn't intervene without a court order. Later that day, her sister saw her out driving alone. There was no children car seat. Any remnants of the children were present. On the morning of October 27th, 1994, around 6:40 a.m., the sheriff's substation in San Jacinto, California, witnessed the arrival of a distraught Hispanic woman. 34-year-old Dora burst into the station, frantically claiming that her estranged husband had arrived at her apartment, that he had a knife, and that she feared for the safety of her children. Little did the officers know that this was beginning of a case that would haunt them for years. Upon hearing her pleas, the police rushed to the apartment complex at 324 East Shaver Street. What they found inside was a scene so gruesome that it left even the most seasoned deputies sickened. In the living room, 9-year-old Susanna and 8-year-old Vincent lay dead, their throats slit. Susanna's lifeless body was draped across the love seat. and Vincent was found on a couch. Both of the children were covered with blood soaked blankets. The children's tiny arms bore multiple defense wounds, indicating a desperate struggle for survival. However, the horror didn't end there because 4-year-old Deidre was missing. Dora showed little emotion when confronted with the details of her children. She insisted that her estranged husband, Alex, was responsible and demanded his arrest. The police obliged, and Alex was taken into custody by the LA Police Department early that morning. However, after questioning him and verifying his alibi, it became clear that Alex was not involved in the murders. And guys, he was released, and it is said he was devastated by the news of his children's death and the disappearance of his youngest. As the investigation continued, Dora's story began to unravel. Her account of the events changed with each and every retelling, and her behavior was erratic. The sheriff's deputies noted her lack of concern for Deidre's whereabouts and her nonchalant attitude, even laughing and joking at times. Guys, this raised red flags for the police department because it was in sharp contrast to her earlier panic. And guys, any mother who's just told two of her children have been killed and one is missing, I do not know how in the hell she was laughing and joking. I know people do strange things when trauma hits. I can't imagine a mother laughing and joking, but that's me. Around 6 p.m. that night, some children were out playing and they found little Deidre's body. It was strapped to a car seat and had been abandoned in a post office in Lakeview, about 10 miles from San Jacinto. Now, this wasn't abandoned in an old post office, not currently in use. Her throat had been slit, and the broken blade of a knife was still lodged in her neck. In an unimaginable act of cruelty, Dora had continued to stab her daughter with a ballpoint pen after the knife blade broke. Deidre's body was left to decompose in that abandoned building on the day Dora had driven to LA. The brutal nature of the crimes and the 2-day span between the killings were crucial points for the jury during Dora's trial in July of 1998. Deputy District Attorney Michael Socchio presented the timeline of events starting with the night of October 25th, 1994, when Dora had visited her ex husband at his apartment in LA. They said she was enraged by her estranged husband's new relationship and that Dora took out her anger on Deidre, stabbing her so violently that the knife blade broke off in her throat. After abandoning Deidre's body in the deserted post office, she continued to her estranged husband's apartment, where they had that brief encounter before she pulled a knife on him. Like I said, the police were called, but Dora left seething with anger. The following day, Dora returned to her apartment where she coldly murdered Susanna and Vincent after killing them. She covered their bodies with blankets and spent the day in the apartment rehearsing her story before heading to the police station. Guys, that is dark and that is evil. During the trial, Dora denied killing her children, continuing to blame Alex and accusing the police of framing her. She lashed out at the prosecutor and her own defense attorneys, maintaining her innocence despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Now, before she went to trial, a competency hearing was ordered. Dora was seen by a defense psychologist and a prosecution psychologist. One of the defense team doctors evaluated Dora for 10 hours in March and in July. The defendant, Dora, reported having a ninth grade education and claimed that her estranged husband had physically abused her. She expressed feelings that everyone was against her, including jail deputies, and believed she was being poisoned and that she was hearing voices. She also said she was subjected to experiments by the jail's medical staff. She showed signs of depression, confusion, disorganized thoughts, and impaired memory and concentration, which the defense psychologist attributed to a mental disorder. He suspected a possible neuropsychological issue, but couldn't conduct further tests due to her lack of cooperation. The defense psychologist concluded that the defendant did not understand the legal system and lacked the insight to recognize her confusion, which hindered her ability to work with her attorney. Though she was aware of the charges, she denied knowing the victims. The doctor diagnosed her with paranoid schizophrenia, but did not include this in his report, preferring instead to describe her behavior. He noted that while she had schizophrenia, it did not necessarily mean she was incompetent. Now, the prosecution's court appointed psychiatrist examined Dora in jail, saying she was alert, understood the purpose of the visit, and knew she had been charged with the murder of her three children. Dora demonstrated a clear understanding of the criminal legal process and shared that she had worked for 7 years at a civil law firm as an assistant. Now, she did complain that the proceedings were slow, but denied experiencing delusions or hallucinations and showed no psychotic symptoms. In a follow up interview on July 26, 1995, Dora again showed knowledge of the legal system and her relationship with her defense counsel had improved. Dora explained her concerns about a gas smell in her cell were based on news reports and denied the psychotic symptoms others had noted. She said they didn't exist, offering reasonable explanations. The doctor found her answers logical, cooperative, and determined she had no thought disorder. He concluded she was competent to stand trial, a belief that remained unchanged after further interactions with her during court proceedings. Despite the conflicting evidence presented by the prosecution and the defense team, the jury found Dora competent to stand trial. On July 23rd, 1998, the jury found Dora Buenrostro guilty of 3 counts of first degree murder. The trial then moved into the penalty phase, where Dora took the stand again, this time claiming that the entire investigation was a conspiracy against her. Dora asserted that her now ex husband had killed their children and that the sheriff's department were covering it up for him. Her erratic behavior continued as she berated the prosecution and once again her own defense team. Alex testified that he loved his children and that all three had been buried in the same grave together. Guys, horrific that they were all killed, but I find some comfort that he did the right thing and buried them all together. Now, family and friends of Dora testified that in the several months leading up to the tragic day in October, that Dora had started showing signs of mental illness and that she was not only seeing things, but had also told her sister she was hearing voices. Ultimately, the jury sentenced Dora Buenrostro to death. However, her death sentence was later overturned, and she was instead given a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. While Dora was ultimately responsible for her horrific actions, her deep seated anger and emotional instability likely stemmed from her untreated mental issues. And once again, guys, this case reminds us of the need for robust and improved mental health resources to help individuals before their pain and anger spiral into violence. The case of Dora Buenrostro remains one of the most disturbing in Riverside County's history. And it's a reminder to us of the darkness that can lurk within, leading a mother to commit the unthinkable acts of violence against her own children. The tragedy of Susanna, Vincent, and Deidre will not be forgotten. Their short lives brutally cut short by the very person who was supposed to love and protect them. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please reach out to a professional. Help is out there, and it is never too late to seek it. You can call the National Mental Health Hotline for free 24 hours, 7 days a week at 866 903 3787. I want to thank you again for joining me on Dearest Mother's Darkest Secrets. And please don't forget to like this video and leave a comment below letting us know your thoughts about this case. And if you've liked what you've seen, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. It's completely free. And if you want to receive these episodes a week early, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button, and you will get not only Dearest Mother's Darkest Secrets early, you will also get exclusive content. Until next time, please stay safe, watch out for crime, and enjoy your wine time.